Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and before my phone springs out of the tripod again, today I have a book haul. I recently celebrated the anniversary of my birth, and because of that, people sent me a few gifts. And by people, I mean 3 people. 2 of them are related. One of them is my mother, one of them is my sister, and I wouldn't have got anything if it hadn't been for Charlie, or Charlie Brooke Reads. At the start of July, Charlie sent me a message. She knows me. She said, I know you'd like a surprise, but I also know that if it's something that you don't want, then you won't be happy with it. I'm like, firstly, I don't like being called out like that. It's true, but just don't call me out like that. So I sent her a list of books, and then when my sister was asking me and my mother was asking me, I just said to Charlie, could you send them the list? Anyway, Charlie did that because she's a great person, and so we're going to start with the books that Charlie sent me. Firstly, she sent me Death Comes to Marlow by Robert Thorogood, which is the second in the Marlow Murder Club series. Robert Thorogood is best known for writing Death in Paradise, or creating Death in Paradise. Indeed, he's written a few books in the series, and having read the Marlow Murder Club a few years ago and really enjoyed it, I looked forward to reading the sequel. And this time around, the 3 protagonists who investigated the first murder have been invited to the wedding of Sir Peter Bailey. And I've read the start of this, and whilst they're there is a crash indoors, and somebody has been crushed beneath a cabinet. And they're going to investigate that murder. The next book that Charlie got me, I honestly believe she got for me because I haven't stopped harping on about this book for most of the year, and that is In Limbo by Deb JJ Lee. So I have wanted to get back into reading graphic novels this year. I recognise that it's a form that I've much maligned for a few years, and there are actually some books that are graphic novels that are favourites of mine. When I say that, I'm namely talking about The Rabbi's Cat by Jon Svar. I think it's a fantastic graphic novel that discusses religion, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, and just covers a wide range of themes throughout Algeria and seeing what the Jewish community face the world over. And so earlier this year, I was looking for graphic novel recommendations, and this came up as supposedly being one of the best graphic novels of the year. It's actually a graphic memoir, I should say. On the back it says, a stunning debut graphic memoir that explores the intersection of mental health and the Korean American diaspora. I'll read you the blurb. Ever since Deborah Lee's family emigrated from South Korea to the United States, she's felt her otherness. For a while, her English wasn't perfect. Her teachers can't pronounce her Korean name. Her face and her eyes, especially her eyes, feel wrong. In high school, everything gets harder. Friendships change and end. She falls behind in classes, and fights with her mum escalate. Caught in limbo with nowhere safe to go, Deb finds her mental health plummeting, resulting in a suicide attempt. But Deb is resilient and slowly heals with the help of art and self-care, guiding her to a deeper understanding of her heritage and herself. Very much looking forward to this. I found out about this book around the same time as I was reading Prozac Nation, and although they are incredibly different, I think that oftentimes we don't think about the mental health struggles of teenagers. And I know that whenever I've mentioned my own that I went through as a teenager, a lot of people have said, you're a teenager, you can't have possibly felt these things. And it's the constant dismissal that you could have felt those emotions so young. And so I'm really interested in reading Deb JJ Lee's graphic memoir about that. Next, I am going to move on to the books that my sister got me for my birthday. This helped me realise that she probably knows me more than I thought she did. And I did ask her whether Charlie had actually told her to order these books for me. The first one that she made me open was Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen. Now, admittedly, this is not the cover that I wanted, but she said that this was the cover that she liked. To me, this just looks like the hide of a Highland cow. I quite like the one where it was an arm holding somebody, but whatever. The blurb from Kirkus here says, a one-of-a-kind queer horror comedy for people who watch The Bachelor. I don't watch The Bachelor, but the blurb on this really intrigued me. So I believe that the Patricia of the title is a Sasquatch, and she has fallen in love with one of these people who's filming an almost Love Island style show. It sounded weird, and when I was looking for books this month, I was very much thinking about the weird. And the next one that my sister got me was Sheets by Brenna Thummler. I know nothing about this book, but Ariel Bissett and Raylene LeMay talk about this book all the time on the Books Unbound podcast, and because of that, I decided I had to get it. So yeah, I have been influenced. I'm going to read the blurb again. I know we're not supposed to read the blurbs, that people get upset by it, but honestly, it's not my job to create a blurb. For Marjorie Glatt, being 13 years old isn't quite the same as it is for everyone else. Responsible for running her family's laundromat while trying to survive middle school, Marjorie's daily struggles include persnickety customers, snippy classmates, agonising swim lessons and laundry. Always laundry. Wendell is a bit different too. Wendell is a ghost. His daily struggles include dead youth support groups and unavoidable stains. But when he escapes from the land of ghosts and bumbles into Marjorie's laundromat, the perfect ghost playground, his attempts at fun and friendship begin to harm the family business. Sheets is a powerful story about a young girl's perseverance even when all odds are stacked against her. It shows that forgiveness and second chances can result in unlikely friendships. Above all, it is an invitation into an unusual haunted laundromat that brings family, friends, and yes, sheets to life. I also heard, as well as having this ghostly element, which intrigues me, that this was a somewhat cosy book, even though it is dealing with serious themes. I do like the art style. Actually, looking at it, there's a lot that I feel like I'm going to like about this one. This book came packaged in bubble wrap. I was really surprised by the care taken with this, and I was even more happy with my sister for thinking I was worthy of the hardback edition of Ducks by Kate Beaton. This is the book that I've probably been talking about the most this year of wanting, but has been too expensive for me to afford. Again, this was on the same list as In Limbo, and again is a memoir by Kate Beaton. It's subtitled 2 Years in the Oil Sands, and I believe that Kate Beaton previously released Hark a Vagrant, but she lived in a tight-knit seaside community. Due to the lack of employment in the town she's from, she ends up having to go and take advantage of Alberta's oil rush, which is basically a ton of East Coasters, wherever this is, go to seek employment elsewhere, even though it's going to be incredibly tough, just so that they can earn enough money to go back and actually survive where they're from. It's one that's, as I say, I have been talking about a lot this year, although this is quite hefty. It's quite a hefty tome, quite a hefty graphic novel, but I really do look forward to this one. And that's the one where I thought that, yes, I'm still drinking out of the Christmas mug. When I saw that that was the book that my sister had got me, I thought that Charlie must have been coaching her in what to get for me, because sometimes I do feel sorry for Charlie for the number of times I talk about books that I want to read. Next, we will move on to the books that my mother got me. Firstly, she says she took the list into Waterstones and they only had one book in my local Waterstones. So that was Motherthing by Ainslie Hogarth. Abby Lamb has done it. She's found the great good in her husband Ralph, and together they will start a family and put all the unhappiness in her childhood to rest. But then the Lambs move in with Ralph's mother Laura, and Abby finds the mother of all problems. Laura is venomous and cruel. Oh, and she hates Abby. When Laura suddenly dies, her ghost starts to haunt Abby and Ralph in very different ways. Ralph is plunged into depression and Abby is being terrorised by a force intent on taking everything she loves away from her. With the life she's built on the line, Abby must make the ultimate sacrifice in order to prove her adoration to Ralph and break Laura's hold on the family for good. I've been hearing a lot of things about this book for a while now, but reading this blurb, I find myself reminded of Monster-in-Law. And what is that other film? Is it Blithe Spirit? I'm reminded of a few of the films that I've liked in the past, so we will see. And the next book that my mother got for me, which she had to order in, was The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea by Maggie Tokuda-Hall. The pirate Florian, born Flora, has always done whatever it takes to survive, including sailing under false flag on the Dove as a marauder, thief and worse. Lady Evelyn Hasegawa, a high-born imperial daughter, is on board as well, heading to an arranged marriage she dreads. But her one voyage is interrupted when the captain and crew show their true colours. Both Florian and Evelyn have lived their lives by the rules and whims of others, but when they fall in love, they decide to take fate into their own hands, no matter the cost. So yeah, I found out about this book. A queer pirate story. What more could you want? I actually don't know why I keep buying these books set on boats, because maybe I'm trying to find something I found with the Live Ship Traders trilogy, but for the most part I keep buying these books set on boats and never reading them. Finally, I chose to buy a gift for myself. This is one I didn't include on the list because it was a bit expensive, so I got myself the 3-book edition of Haruki Murakami's 1Q84, and this was simply because I feel like in this format it's going to be easier for me to read because the book is separated into the 3 individual books that make up the entire story, so it won't be as difficult for me to hold as it would be a 1,000-page tome. I also think that breaking it up like this is going to make my mind think that it's going quicker than it is, if that makes any sense. I knew that I would be happier reading this book in this format. Do I know much about this Murakami? Apart from having an alternate world of 1Q84 and being likened to 1984 by Orwell, I know nothing about this. Indeed, Murakami has been an author who is a bit hit and miss for me. The more I think about Kafka on the Shore, the more I think of it fondly. And I did like After Dark, which is a book that Emily of Novel sent to me a few years ago. And yet the Wind Up Bird Chronicle was one that I just found a bit tasteless in parts and felt like there was gratuitous violence just for the sake of having gratuitous violence. But at the moment, I am in the mood for weird and surreal, and so I got this, but obviously I need the mood of weird and surreal to stick in my mind to get around to reading this. And them's the books that I got to commemorate turning 31. A lot of weird, a lot of graphic novels, but whenever I'm putting these lists together, I tend to put books together. I tend to go for books that I feel like I will never see at the charity shop. I might see Death Comes to Marlow at the charity shop, but that's by the by. Anyway, my father and brother have just got home, so Sally's about to bark. So all I'll say is, if you've read any of these books and would like to discuss them, then please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.